What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Take a Step podcast. In this episode, we are wrapping up our Part 5 series where we've been covering the core values behind Take a Step. We started off in Part 1 with faith, then we moved on to relationships, then career. Last episode was physical health, and in this episode, we're wrapping it up with mental health. And I want to preface it by saying this, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a counselor, I don't have any degree that qualifies me to give professional advice in the world of mental health. But where I come from is a place of personal experience. So if you disagree with anything I say, feel free to reach out to me about it because I'm always open to hearing other perspectives, and ultimately I think that is the best path to growth. Here we go. What's going on, and welcome to the Take a Step podcast. I'm your host, Josh Johnston, founder of Take a Step. It's a community that's focused on bringing together like-minded individuals who are all focused on growth so that we can really push each other towards maximizing each individual's God-given potential. If you find value in this podcast, please leave a rating and review on whichever platform you're listening. It really helps us to continue to grow the community and ultimately change more lives for the better. Feel free to give us a follow on social media at __ take a step __ and reach out to me if you have any questions or just want to connect. With that being said, let's dive in. So first off, mental health is a concept that's so frequently talked about in the world we live in today, and rightfully so. And here are a few numbers from a few recent studies when it comes to depression. Depression affects over 18 million adults, 1 in 10 in any given year. It's the leading cause of disability ages 15 to 44. It's the primary reason why someone dies of suicide about every 12 minutes, over 41,000 people a year. In comparison to that, homicide claims less than 16,000 lives a year, almost 4 times less. Why is that? In my opinion, it all comes down to our thought lives and what we allow our minds to dwell on. One of my favorite books that's really shaped my perspective on this matter is The 4-8 Principle. It's by Tommy Newberry. But in the book, he really dives in to the verse Philippians 4:8, which says this, and I'll paraphrase it just a little bit. But he says, "Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, pure, lovely, commendable, if there's any excellence or praise, then dwell on these things." So what he's getting at with that is no matter what situation we're walking through in life, good or bad, if we can take whatever we're walking through and filter it through Philippians 4:8 by finding the positives, whatever is lovely, whatever is just, whatever is praiseworthy out of that situation, then that is the key to ultimately shaping a positive, joy-filled life. And I think what this begs the question of is, what are we allowing our minds to dwell on? And ultimately, especially in the world we live in today, it's the content that we consume. What are we watching? What are we listening to, scrolling through, reading? These are what we're allowing to influence who we are. And if we're consistently putting negativity and just that type of material that's not uplifting to who we are into our minds, then that's who we're going to become. And ultimately, our thoughts will shape our actions. So how do we then begin to affect real change? I think a major challenge that prevents change from taking place is the idea that we're just supposed to have everything figured out by ourselves. And there's a stigma around people who seek help that they're considered to be soft or weak. And I think a question we need to wrestle with as a society is, what is it that takes strength? Is it putting on a mask and operating this life as if we have everything figured out, but really wrestling with everything just internally? Or is it saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to stand up and come out and say, hey, I'm struggling with this and I need some help, and then seeking out that help so we can grow from it. It reminds me of a sermon that I heard a few months ago, and I've actually referenced this sermon before, but the pastor was speaking on the idea of living in the light. And he was saying that which is kept in the dark continues to grow darker, but that which is brought to light provides a path to growth. What happens when we bottle something up inside? I think of the idea of a Coke bottle. We used to drop Mentos in Coke bottles as a kid and watch them explode and Coke go everywhere. But the same thing happens when we bottle up our emotions inside. We compress them, and it starts to overwhelm our minds, and then over time that's going to evolve into some serious mental health issues that we're going to have to battle through. But what we can do to address that is saying, hey, you know what? It's okay to bring that out to the light, and it's okay to expose what you're struggling with, because we find strength in our struggle once they're brought to light. So step one, in my opinion, would be just to seek counsel. Whether if that's in the form of trusted relationships or even professional help, sharing what you're going through with someone you trust takes a massive weight off your shoulders because you're no longer carrying it all by yourself. On top of that, and I spoke about this in the last episode, but one thing that is completely in our control that we can do consistently to have a positive impact on our mental health is to implement a physically healthy lifestyle. First and foremost, through our fitness. The ability to get out and accomplish something challenging that you are completely in control of is the easiest way in my mind to show yourself that you're worth something, that you can be productive, that you can have confidence in knowing that you just set your mind to something and completed it. Now, where else can you take that same mindset and apply it? This framework has lifted myself and so many people I know out of a mental rut that they were battling through. Now, that same mindset can be applied to our diet, to our sleep, time spent outside versus inside, and so many others. At the end of the day, hard is relative for each person. Someone who might claim to be navigating through a difficult point in their life could have someone else tell them that what they're going through isn't that hard compared to what this other person is going through. Those two people have completely different lives with completely different experiences that's molded completely different perspectives on what hard actually looks like and feels like. And I've definitely erred on the side in the past of saying, don't be so soft, don't be so weak. Pick your head up, dig deep, keep moving forward no matter what you're going through. So having that said, how can we take that again and impact change? A huge step you can take in finding peace with yourself is having some sort of self-worth, and that comes from accomplishment. And since hard is the hard someone feels is relative, that also means the hard they can accomplish is relative. If we can help people by just helping them start to accomplish one relatively hard task a day, then eventually that hard task will become easy. And they will increase the difficulty, and then maybe throw one or two more tasks. And with this new spike in productivity comes appreciation of their work and confidence in themselves, and ultimately a newfound self-worth. So relating to that, I want to read a quote from a book that I've been reading, which is Never Finished by David Goggins. And say what you will about David Goggins, he's too loud for some people. I get that, but his perspective is something that we can all take a lot out of. And he says this: the only thing more infectious than a good attitude is a bad one. The more you dwell on the negative, the weaker you feel, and that weakness infects those around you. We all love good comeback stories because they teach us that setbacks have the power to propel us forward to our greatest successes, but your fate depends on your approach. After any injury or failure, your mind wants to either spin into overthinking or fall back into numbness and complacency. And it takes practice to short-circuit that process. And he goes on to say, whenever something sets me back, I always set a goal, something tangible to shoot for, that keeps me task-oriented and prevents me from being consumed by the sorrow of whatever is going on. So building off of the idea of when something's going wrong, set some sort of task, accomplish something relatively hard to what's going on in your situation to build that self-confidence and let that compound over time. So if you've ever experienced or are currently experiencing a season of life that's having a negative impact on your mental health, please reach out to someone that you trust and respect and let them know what you're going through. And if you don't feel like you have someone like that in your life, I'd love to connect with you and be there for you, because no one deserves to walk through those difficult battles alone. As I just said, what's hard is relative, and maybe your first hard accomplishment could just be reaching out to someone for the first time and letting them know what you're going through, and that would be a powerful first step towards growth. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Take a Step podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this series where we've covered the core values behind Take a Step. If you've enjoyed this series, and especially if you've enjoyed this episode specifically, please share it with a friend. Pause the episode, take a screenshot, send it to someone who you think would benefit from hearing this message. And ultimately, we're just trying to continue growing this community that's all about inspiring people to take action in their lives to maximize their God-given potential, and building a community around that mindset. So to give you guys a quick update on what's to come with the Take a Step podcast, this is the last podcast of 2023. I feel like this year's flown by, but just to give you a quick update, in January, there will be no podcast coming out the entire month because we're going to be implementing a few changes to the podcast to where, we're going to add a couple things and implement a few different systems that's going to allow the podcast to reach more people so that we can continue growing this community, like I just said. So feel free to follow me on social media to keep up with what's going on at _ take a step _ on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. Give me a follow and just follow what's going on. Next podcast will be coming out in February with a couple new details that's going to be added on to it. So love you guys, and I will talk to you in 2020.